Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach. Today, we are excited to have on Katie Jo Jones, your newly crowned AQHA all around amateur, as well as the AQHA world champion in amateur horsemanship and Congress champion in amateur horsemanship. Like, you have had an incredible season. Congratulations. Like, all of those are just huge accomplishments, and especially in that horsemanship class, because that is one of the toughest classes at the horse show, and I think you just have been killing it, so good job.
Thank you. Yes, it was a really exciting season.
Yeah, and I remember when you first got your mare, you've taken her from a green horse and turned her into this incredible level 3 finished partner. Like, that's incredible. Can you tell us a little bit about what attracted you to her in the beginning?
Yeah, for sure. So we bought her as a 3-year-old. I've had her for 3 years, and Robin picked her out. He saw her and actually called me and was like, "I found the horse. This is absolutely it." I think the 2 things that really attracted to us, like, right away was, 1, she's beautiful. She's striking. She's really dark. She's, like, made amazing. And then also her fast, like, her hand gallops. So when we first tried her, she just automatically, like, was really fun to go fast and could just scoot, and I think that's kind of our, like, signature thing right now, and it was, like, our favorite thing about her when we first got her, that how quick she was on her feet and how easy it was for her.
Yeah, I can see that, especially now that she's all finished. Like, you guys can just hit the gas in every maneuver, and it's so cool.
Yeah, for sure. She's super athletic in everything she does, so once we kinda got her started and taught her the turns, everything was, like, really easy for her, and so we kinda just kept building and realized really how athletic she was, even more so than we thought when we first got her.
That is so cool. Where did you show her at first, and when were the times that you started adding the all-around classes to her?
So I showed her first in Florida in, I guess, December, January after we first got her. So we bought her in August of 21, and then I showed her that December. And so we started with just the horsemanship. And I only showed her in the horsemanship, I think, until May. And then we added the showmanship. And then we really just focused on those 2 classes that whole year. And then when we got to the next year, 2023, then I added the equitation. And so I only showed her all of last year just in the horsemanship, showmanship, and eq. And Robin started the green Western riding and trail with her. And then this year I added the trail and Western riding. So that was kind of like a new experience and a little bit of a learning curve for me to pick up those events. But I'm glad we did it that way because I felt it kinda give us the opportunity to kinda conquer one event and get kinda figure it out and get smooth at it and then move on to the next event.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it paid off, so that was smart on your guys' part. Was the all-around and turning her into an all-around horse with all those events and then going on to try to win it at the world show, was that something that you had in mind, or did things just kinda start falling into place?
I would say it was a little bit of both. When we picked her out, the main goal for her was really to be a great horsemanship horse. I really love the horsemanship, and so I was really seeking a horse that was gonna be her like, their number 1 event, and so that was the main focus, and I really enjoy the showmanship too, and then the end goal was we were hoping that we could do all the events, but it was if it works out, it does, and if not, then that's okay. And last year I was pretty close. I was reserve all around at the Congress, kind of unexpected, and so I came pretty close to all around a couple times without doing the trail and Western riding. So this year, as we started adding those events, it kind of started to shift to be a focus to say, "Hey, I think this is possible. Like, let's kind of focus on the all around besides just the horsemanship too." So I was all around at the Arizona Sun Circuit, and then it just kinda kept growing, and then the Congress, so then going to the World Show, I was really kinda had it in the back of my head, but I know it's hard there, so sometimes it doesn't all work out.
Yeah, I mean, you had what sounds just like an incredible season. Can you walk us through like how the season started? I'm assuming it started with Sun Circuit for you, which obviously was a hit. And then kind of what your goals were for the season and if you achieved all your goals or if there were a couple things where you're like, oh, like we still have some things to work on for next year. And then, yeah, go from there.
Yeah, so I started at the Arizona Sun Circuit. And so the beginning goal this year was like picking up those new events. And then I really just wanted to like really focus in on my horsemanship and kind of take it to the next level. We were reserved last year at the Congress in the horsemanship. And then at the World Show, I think I was six. And at the World Show, she was still kind of green. The pattern kind of showed her green elements. And so this year, I think it was really just, hey, we can do it. We're kind of, let's step up a level. So we kind of just did that. I hit all the big circuits for the most part. We went to the Madness, we went to the Redbud, and I live in North Carolina and the horse is in Texas, so I also tried to make a point of trying to get out there to ride a little bit more this year. So that was really kind of the goal. As the year went on, a lot of my focus started working on the trail and the Western riding. So since she was still a little green in those events and I hadn't really done them with her, it was kind of a little bit of a learning curve. And so I would say that the Western riding really didn't really come together until the NSBA World. And to be honest, the trail didn't really come together until the World Show. At the Congress, I had a great show and everything, but the trail, and so I had low expectations going into it, but then making the level 3 trail finals was like a huge achievement. And so I think my number one goal this year was definitely the horsemanship. And I was really hoping to be able to be at the top in the horsemanship at kind of all the shows. And I think kind of going forward, our next goal is really to hone in our trail and Western riding skills as they've gotten better, but there's always room for improvement.
Tell us more about the World Show this year. What was it like when you got there? How did your classes go? Did they go how you wanted them to go? Like, obviously, you were super successful, but were there ups, were there downs, or was it all just amazing?
It was definitely a little bit of everything. I actually wasn't able to get to the World Show until Wednesday night and then showed Thursday, so that was, like, a little bit of I guess I was a little overwhelmed with just getting there and getting showed in the showmanship and it being finals right away. I had a work event to run, so it was, like, the earliest I could get there, so I felt a little rushed getting there and a little, like, underprepared, I would say, but then the showmanship ended up going really great. We were 3rd. And then I felt like there was kinda some time to actually, like, sit back and enjoy the moment and kinda get ready for my classes. And so everything went really well. I will say I ended up getting really sick at the World Show, and so I was
Oh,
battling
no.
yeah. I was battling a pretty bad cold, and so was Robin and my trainer, so we were, like, struggling, I would say. And so, actually, the day of the horsemanship finals, I probably felt the worst and was a little like, I gotta take it easy up until we show just because I knew I wasn't gonna have any energy for the pattern otherwise. So that didn't exactly go as planned, but then luckily after that I kind of started getting better and the end of the show ended really well.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Elevate Your Ride. We're so excited to continue helping you elevate your performance in the saddle. To keep bringing you quality content and information, we're asking you to help us. Tell your friends about us on our podcast, like and share a meaningful quote you saw on our social media, write us a review on Spotify or Facebook. You can also join our Facebook group and ask all your health and fitness questions, or maybe post a success story to motivate another amateur. Your engagement really helps us support and encourage the equestrian community. We're also inviting sponsors and supporters to help us build our show. As a sponsor, starting at just $150, you'll receive marketing on our podcast, website, and growing social media platforms for your business. It's the perfect way to connect with the equestrian community and showcase your brand to our dedicated listeners. And for our supporters, your $50 contribution gets you a shout out on our social media and website. Every bit of support really helps fuel the show and helps us inspire and motivate equestrians. So, if you're interested in learning more about that, you can scroll down to the show notes of this episode and look for the Become a Supporter or Become a Sponsor links and click on those to get some more information. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to continue expanding our platform and helping you elevate your ride.
How do you juggle being sick at a major event like that, knowing that this is what you've worked all year long for and you just happen to get sick, unfortunately?
It's definitely tough. I think for me, especially the Western riding was on Tuesday and it was Tuesday evening and I had a good go in the Western riding, but I think if I was like a little more well or just a little more focused, it definitely would have probably could have went a little bit better than it did. But I think it's one of those things where you kind of just have to take what's thrown at you and make the best of the situation. Obviously, it's a little bit mind over matter. So, I mean, a lot of times Robin would be like, just clear your head, go in there and like give it your best shot and it'll work out the way it's supposed to. So, I think for me, it's mostly just kind of mind over matter, just getting through, using the adrenaline to get through that class and then resting afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, you must have done a good job of being mentally tough. And can you walk us through the day of horsemanship and how did you manage your horse's energy while not tiring yourself out?
Yeah, so we are big, I guess we like to practice in the middle of the night. So we got up really early. I think we're out in the arena by 2:30 or 3. And so then for me, it was let's just rest after we get done with that practice. So I came home and just really rest and relax the rest of the like for the most of the morning. And luckily now we kind of have an idea of how to prepare her, how much energy she has and whatnot. So just kind of coming in and doing our normal routine once we were ready and kind of backing into the time it was ready to show was really kind of the mindset I had. I'm pretty laid back in general, so I tried to just kind of keep that same mentality and not get worked up, not get nervous about what could go wrong, and just knew that my horse would be prepared and I was going to ride the horse that I had that day.
How did you develop that mindset where, like what you just said, that you kind of just have to go with the flow and not get too worried? Has that always been natural for you, or is that something you had to work on?
I would say a little bit of both. I am definitely naturally laid back, but I am very competitive. I am also a little bit of a perfectionist. So sometimes I get a little in my head of like, we have to do it. We have to practice more. We have to get it right. It has to be foolproof. I have to know it's always going to be there. And I think this year, Robin's really helped me kind of, the horse knows its job. It's really easy for her. Just go out there and like ride your horse. Don't overthink it. Just do what you're good at. And so I think for me, that's been kind of a mind shift I've had to have this year instead of like focusing so much on just drilling and drilling is like just letting it be and letting her do her job because she knows how to do it. Well, I should add too, though, is that it definitely, when you have a young horse, it definitely kind of creates that mindset where you want to work on things all the time. And so when your horse becomes more seasoned, you definitely have to shift the mindset a little bit, which is a little different after having her being green previously.
What's the hardest part about showing a green horse for you?
I think the hardest part about showing a green horse is patience and then also working on being a teacher. From the start, it was always like, hey, you're a teacher. You need to go out there and show her her job so she learns it correctly and that she doesn't become overwhelmed or frustrated with what you're asking her. So I think it's just kind of, I like to go fast and I'm competitive and kind of taking it back a notch to make sure that, she was comfortable and that she was learning and not getting overwhelmed with the process.
You've been a strong competitor at the top of the leaderboard for a lot of years now. I remember showing against you as a youth, and you were always incredible. What has kind of created that drive within you to be the best of the best consistently for these years?
I think it's a little bit as I'm naturally very competitive and a little bit of a perfectionist. And then I just really enjoy showing. I love the competition. I love striving to be better. I love watching my competition to see what I can do better. And so for me, I've been blessed and had a lot of really nice horses during my career. As you said, I showed very competitively as a youth. I had a great all around horse. We were very successful. Coming out of youth, I did step back for a little bit just and kind of focus on the futurity horses, just kind of needing a break from the all around. But getting back into it, I've always loved the horsemanship, and so for me, it's just always been a drive of I really love the horsemanship, I love the other events, and I just think it's fun, and so I'd say the past couple of years, I've also kind of found it's fun to train a young horse and get them started and kinda go through that journey too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done a good job developing a few of them over the past couple years. What was it like to switch gears and go into the fraternities and be kind of a quote unquote beginner again?
It was different, but it was kind of I would say for me, it was a little more relaxing just because the all-around stuff is, like, so many classes, so competitive and all of that, and I was a little burned out coming out of youth where I just kinda I still wanted to show, but I just wanted a little bit more, like, laid back environment. So for me, I had a hunt seat horse that I showed, and so that was fun because it was a little bit easier as not as much practice. I wouldn't say it's easier to show, but you don't have to practice as many events. And it was just kind of a nice change of pace, but yeah, it's a thing to go back to where you really love eventually.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats. We have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends. Yeah, when I took a step back and tried some different events, like it was really fun and exciting, but my heart has always been with the all around. And so I was really thankful for taking the break, but I was so happy to be able to come back to it and really feel comfortable and confident and use those skills that I had learned and put it to the test again in a different way with what I already know. So, do you do anything since your horse is in Texas and you live a couple states away? What do you do to stay in riding shape?
So for me, I think this past year, the biggest thing is I really committed to the gym. I'd always went to the gym and all that, but I really made a big focus, really, I think, like kind of last fall to make sure I was going 4 days a week, doing leg day and all of that. And I really noticed a big difference this year just with the equitation and even the horsemanship with dropping and the irons and doing no irons. Last year at the World Show, there was a pattern with no irons, and I was definitely struggling. And so this year, when we did the equitation rail work at the NSBA World, it was like a night and day difference. And it really wasn't even from riding more, it was just from kind of focusing on that routine and building my strength.
What specifically do you notice is easier about riding? Like, is it having more stability? Is it having more endurance? Like, what specifically has changed since you started being more consistent?
I think a little bit more endurance, but then I think just strength, like core strength, lower leg strength, and whatnot. Stability, especially when you take away the stirrups or the irons, just being able to hold your position a lot more confident and solid.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you're showing in the English classes, it helps so, so much to be able to have that stability and that strength that you can kind of rely on. So you're not worrying about bouncing around on your horse. And especially for those English classes, it really makes a difference. Do you do anything for your mind as well?
Honestly, not really. I'm pretty busy at work. So I think in some ways that kind of has some of the mindset is I have a lot going on kind of all the time between helping some family businesses and then also doing my like normal job. So I think for me is I have to keep like pretty focused all the time, which has kind of helped with my writing and whatnot to be able to stay focused and kind of into what I'm doing. So I'm good at segmenting things and kind of focusing on one thing and then moving to the other. So I think for me is like what I do, since I don't get to ride a lot, when I do go to a show, it kind of gives me the ability to say, hey, we're here, we're all in, we're really going to focus in on whatever we want to achieve that week.
So is focusing on the horses how you manage all that stress, or are there other things that you do at home to manage that? Because it sounds like you have a lot on your plate. So how do you not let it become overwhelming, but still be like really competitive and not let it get to your head and kind of stay with you when you get to the horses?
It's a good question. I would say that a lot of the horses is just I enjoy it a lot, so it is kind of an outlet. When I'm not at the horse show, generally me and my husband hang out with our friends and kind of take it a little bit easier. So I think that's kind of my outlet for things not being as competitive. But I think when I'm at the horse show, I really enjoy spending time with the horses since I don't get to a lot. So I think that's one I don't know if I would say it's an advantage, but one thing since I don't get to ride a lot and I don't see my horse all the time, when I do see like go to the horse show and I am competing, it's kind of more meaningful because it is our time together and I am bonding with her too.
Yeah, I love that. I think that makes a lot of sense because it feeds you in the competitive drive that you have, but it also feeds you in the way that horses bring a lot of peace to our lives. And like you said, developing a bond with them. And she just seems so sweet. So I could see that being a really enjoyable part of it, especially as a balance to a hectic lifestyle. Tell us a little bit about riding with Robin and Jenny because you've been with them for a while too. So you probably have a really great relationship with them, so that has to be fun to be able to trust the process and feel comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. So I rode with Robin as a youth kid in the beginning of my youth career. And then I hadn't been with him for a while. And then when I went to look for Sassy, I reached out to him and I knew that he's like the horsemanship king. And so I really was like, hey, I really want to find a horse that's going to help me achieve my goals of winning the world in the horsemanship. Can you help find that? And so, as I said, he picked out Sassy. He found her right away and we kind of just trusted his process. So I've been with him now for 3 years. And It's been a really fun journey. Robin's a great coach. Obviously, when I go practice, I stay at their house, so I've got to spend time with them. I always say that Robin always has like the exact words to say at the right time. I think you were asking a lot about the mental aspect of it. I think he does a really good job with helping his coachees with the mental aspect, with just kind of helping them keep their head in the game, knowing what to say when you go in, and things like that. So it's been really fun. He also does a great job with just kind of helping you learn how to ride the horse and really teaching you, I guess, fundamentals maybe isn't the right because I rode a long time, but like really like the process and us training a young horse up. So it's been enjoyable for me to be able to ride with him again and kind of be able to really be a part of that process and kind of learn the steps and whatnot to get a young horse where it needs to be.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pen anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and am here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Were there any bumps in the road or challenges at the World Show that Robin helped you through since you said he's so great at helping you guys mentally?
Yeah, I think like the two biggest things is one, before I went to the Western riding and I was like not feeling well and I was getting overheated in the warm up pen and I was like a little like, oh, this isn't going to go well. For him, he was just like, hey, you need to clear your mind and you just need to go out there and ride your horse. You know what you're doing. Just like it's 3 minutes. Like you can do this. So I think that was really great. And then for the horsemanship, I was pretty calm going into the finals, but his advice, and he gives me this a lot, he said the same thing at the Congress was, "Don't overthink it. This is really easy for her. Just go out there and let her do her job." And so for me, I think that's really what I went out and did, and it paid off.
Yeah, it definitely did. What's your favorite maneuver to do on her?
Definitely the fast gallop. She's really fun to go fast on. And if anyone watches me, they probably realize I really like to go fast. So that's a little bit why we're a little bit of a match made is I'm a pretty aggressive rider to begin with. So anytime there's like a fast circle or anything to show that off, that's really my favorite part because she's incredibly smooth going fast, kind of the way she moves. And then she has a gear that a lot of horses just don't have.
What I really appreciate about watching like your patterns and how you ride and everything is yes, it's very fast, but you never lose connection with your horse. And that I would imagine is part of why you did so well at the World Show this year is there was a lot of different maneuvers where you had to go quick up into your extended lope and then come back down and stop and get into those turns well without having your horse lose that focus or lose the connection to you. And you were able to go through all of that without getting your mare frazzled or getting yourself frazzled, and that was really cool to watch. Did you have that like, did you have to develop that relationship with her, or is that how she always was even when you got her as a three-year-old?
I definitely had to develop that relationship with her. I think it kind of came as she kept getting more seasoned, but I don't really feel like that we really developed that connection until this year. Last year, I think there was like times that we would have that connection, but then there would be like pieces of the pattern where it kind of fell apart a little bit. And some of that I think was just like me getting to know her and us figuring each other out a little bit. And then some of it I think is like still she was a little green at certain maneuvers. But I think this year is where like really Arizona is where I feel like we really had our first patterns where they were just really put together and we had that connection. And then there was like a couple times throughout the year where there would be something we'd kind of struggle with and we kind of had to put that piece back together. But I feel like as the year progressed, it just kept getting stronger and stronger. And then when we went to the Congress, that was really the peak of like, oh, it's really all here. We've got this.
Walk us through your horsemanship pattern at the World Show this year.
So he started at a jog and I was last to go. I actually was kind of like waiting a little bit for my time because we had warmed up and so waiting to go. So you jogged in, extended the trot, both corners. She's a strong corner. She's not particularly smooth at the trot. So that's been like one thing I've had to learn a little bit, but she corners great. You broke to the walk, which was actually the same transition we had at the Congress. So when we first got to the Congress, we really had to work on that. But luckily, when we got there, we kind of had it like nailed down and then drop the stirrups and then lope off and then you did a fast circle and slowed down. So that's where I really knew that I could really shine because I really wanted to like pick up the speed and like show that part off. So we did that. She came back great and then changed leads and you counter cantered to circle. And then the counter canter, I feel like is also a part that we really shine at. Oddly enough, it's not a particularly hard maneuver, but I feel like we've kind of been able to find the right mix of making it look really natural, which it doesn't always look natural. So we came through, changed leads again. One thing I was really focusing on is our lead change. I really wanted to make sure we had really clean, pretty changes. So I remember having a little bit of anxiety going up to those changes, just hoping that everything was going to be like she was set up perfectly and that they were really going to be clean and flowy. And then came up to the judges. It was a little intimidating looping straight up to them, but I knew going into the finals that a lot of people had trouble with the turns since I was last to go. So I was really focused on just making sure that I got into both turns really cleanly and that we could square them off and not overturn or underturn. And so luckily we were able to do that. And then I had to be a little patient when we got to the backup. Didn't want to rush in and kind of blow that par. So I backed up and then picked up my stirrups and drawn it out. And then I knew that there was no backup at the end. So I really drove her to the end to stop hard for the last stop.
When you finished your pattern, did you feel like, "Yes, that this could be it. I could be the winner"?
Yes, I knew that nothing had went wrong, but I never like to like count my chickens before they hatch. So when I like came out, I kind of told Robin, I was like, I think it was good. And he was like, yeah, it was good. And then everyone outside was like, oh, that was really good. And a lot of compliments. So, I mean, the competition in the amateur horsemanship is like really tough and it could be anyone's day. So I knew that we were good, but you never know like what the judges they're going to think.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit about how you learned to sit a rough horse because I remember I had one that was so rough and I swear I have spinal compression from So tell us how you've gotten it so good where you can go so fast and still look so strong.
I think a lot of practice. So when we first got her, she actually was not a super fast long trotter. So that was something we kind of had to work to build. And so I like to go fast and I want the whole pattern to match. So I spent a lot of time like or working on just going faster. And like when I ask, she really extends out. And so I think for me, just kind of practicing it over and over. So we kind of became more natural. Honestly, still to this day, I still feel like I am probably bouncing around a lot, but we're connected. So it kind of works that even though she's not the smoothest on that gate, that it does like we still look put together, even if I am kind of bouncing around.
What was the most challenging part about that pattern for you? Were there any parts that you were nervous about before you went into the pen?
I think the thing I was mostly nervous about was just the turns, more so because I knew a lot of people before me had like some sort of issue with the turns. So I knew that a lot of people had great patterns up until that point, and there's like small things that kind of went wrong. And so for me, it was really just wanting to finish it off and make sure that nothing went wrong there. So, I mean, she is a great spinner both directions. So I knew that we could get it, but it's just when you're that close to the wall and having to turn both directions right in front of the judges, it's easy to kind of make an easy mistake without meaning to. So for me, it was just trying to be very precise at that point in the pattern and not screw something up.
How did you prepare for this pattern specifically? What did you do like in the weeks and the months leading up before it? What did you do the day of? How did you prepare for this class?
So, I mean, I think the weeks and months leading up to it was really just everywhere else we had shown kind of up until then. We had a lot of elements we had in different patterns, I would say, throughout. And so, as I said, like the Congress had an extended trot to the walk, which we worked a lot on at the Congress. So it was really like nice when we got there and I had that same maneuver again. And then I would say like the days going up to it, it was just really like fine tuning kind of each maneuver. The fast to the slow, we get a lot. So I felt really comfortable about that. Generally, you don't turn both directions in a row. So I think just getting kind of comfortable with that. I did practice that a lot in the couple days going up to it. And so I think it was just square corners. I felt comfortable because we've done those a lot. So I think it was kind of just making sure that we could put everything together. And then when you take your stirrups away, it obviously adds a little bit of a different element to it. So really like the night before, I really kind of practiced the pattern without the stirrups to make sure that I felt comfortable with everything and there wasn't anything that I was going to be nervous about not having my stirrups for.
Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own.
As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopendowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
So during the world show, there's the prelims patterns, there's the finals patterns. You're competing in so many different events. How do you keep so many patterns in your head and not forget an element or combine one part of a pattern with another pattern? How do you keep everything straight?
So I think for me is kind of what I was saying before with like really focusing on practicing one class and then moving to the other is I really had to, focus on one class, that pattern, really think about it, practice it, and really get it in my head. And then once we finish that class, go to the next one and like focus on it. Because otherwise, I think it's really easy to get them confused and get them mixed up. And so I think that was where I was a little stressed going into the showmanship, is I knew I didn't have a lot of time to practice. I knew I was getting in late. We showed the next day. And so really before I even got there, I started studying the pattern. And I probably repeated it in my head like 100 times. There was like a trot and setup, and so I was like really paranoid I was gonna forget that. So for me, it's really just repeating the pattern and thinking about it and really just focusing on it, and then once it's over, move to the next thing.
How do you keep from overloading yourself and your mare at the shows from doing so many events and trying to do so many different events well? And I mean, obviously, because you were crowned the all around amateur, you did so well in so many events. So, how do you not burn yourself and your mare out doing that?
I think we're like very particular on when we practice an event. So generally the horsemanship kind of always comes as like first and foremost with our practice. And then I would say like the trail, we had the trail finals right after the horsemanship Thursday morning. And so I actually, as soon as I finished the horsemanship that day, and we had to go straight to the trail pen to practice because we really like to set boundaries also kind of for her sanity to not be like mixing things. So we didn't practice trail really at all until after we finished the horsemanship finals. So for us, it's really just kind of been, hey, let's get through one class. Let's focus on that. Let's only practice that. And then we'll move to the next class. And so for me, that's really been crucial. And I think that's really like just helped her mentally, is that we're not throwing so many things at her that she is like mixing everything together. Like, and I think it also helps her like her job a little more of just, hey, we're going to do one event at a time. And that's it.
Did you know that you were up for the all around at the World Show? And if so, at what point?
Yes, so we had the showmanship on Thursday, and then we had the halter on Sunday, and they posted the results, and it was very close between me and Kalina Weekly, and there was like about a point difference. So at that point, my mind was kind of turning of, hey, this is a possibility, but we still have a lot of events to go, and so does she. So I think the next event we had was the horsemanship, and I won the horsemanship, and so I knew I got like a lot of points there. But then the next day, she actually won the trail. And so we were still really close again, which I placed 10th in the trail, which I was really hoping to place in the top 10 so I would get some all around points. So then it was a little bit of keeping a level mindset going into the equitation because I was only 2.5 points going into the eq. So it was pretty tight. And so I knew that she also does the equitation, that it could really go either way, just depending on how we did in that class.
So, how did you handle those nerves going into it? Did Robin's words of just go out there, you know what you're doing, did that kind of resonate with you again that day in a different way?
I would say so. The EC is a strong class for us, but not as strong as some of our other classes like the horsemanship and the showmanship. So we had done really well at both the Congress and the SBA World, so I knew we could, but I also knew I kind of had to really focus and keep my head on straight for it. So Robin kind of again was just like, "Hey, you just need to place in this class. Like, let's keep that like mindset. Like, let's not get worked up about trying to be the winner." And so we practiced and like really I think just stayed focused on going out there, having a smooth pattern and being prepared. He did tell me before I went in that I needed to like ride aggressive and really ride my horse and think about what I was doing instead of just going out there. But I think it definitely was a little bit of a mental game to keep my head on straight because I knew I couldn't mess the pattern up.
Yeah, I remember when I was up for the all around, it came down to the equitation class as well. And I kind of had the little bit of same thought process of, okay, just go out there, show your horse to the best of your ability. Don't try to be the hero, but at the same time, like do your best so that way you can get a good number on the board. And because Man, it's crazy how it just always seems to boil down to the end. And then for us that year, the hours were really long. So I can kind of empathize with you with the fact that you were sick. For me, I was just so tired and I don't do tired super well. And so that took a lot of mental energy to be like, okay, just hold it together. It's like you said, 3 minutes. Like there's a lot on the line here. Don't be a hero. It's 3 minutes and just do it.
Yes, and I can also feel that too because it was the last class at the horse show. We had an off day on Friday, and so we had been there for so long too that I was really getting to the point of like, I'm really ready to go home. This has been really fun, but I really miss my bed. And so I think some of it was not wanting to wish away the class and also wanting to enjoy the class. And so it was like nerve-wracking, but I think, it definitely took the right mindset for that class.
Yeah. And did you know immediately that you had won, or did they have to wait for a little bit?
So they actually did the all-around results before they placed the class. So
Ah,
when they
Oh, wow.
announced reserve is I didn't know. I knew it was between me and her, and they said they were gonna award the 1st and 2nd all-around winners and that the 3rd through 5th were too close to call yet. So they did reserve first, waiting to see if she was reserve or if I was reserve. So when they announced her as reserve, and I then knew I won, but I was pretty excited about it. And this is also the first year I've ever been eligible for the all around at the world show. So when I was a youth kid, they didn't do all around for the youth. And then we've never had enough categories until this year with my previous horses to ever be eligible.
yeah, and so way to set the bar for yourself. How did it feel?
Yes.
How did it feel when you heard Kalina's number and you knew that you had accomplished it?
I was really excited, especially we had kind of set this as like my first goal this year was really to try to win the horsemanship at the world show, but kind of a secondary goal was to win the all around. And so I was going to be happy if I was first or second either way because that's a huge achievement. And Kalina is a very fierce competitor and is a great person to go second to. She's amazing and had a phenomenal world show. So I was really happy either way. But when I found out that I was the winner, I was obviously very excited and thrilled. And Robin had never had an all-around amateur before, so it was also special to be able to give him that title too.
Yeah, all the decisions that were made leading up were the right ones and all the hard work that you put in, like, definitely paid off. So, where do you go from here? Because this is almost a record year. What are your goals for the future with her?
Yeah, I was, joking with this, that, what would we focus on next? And I think for me, it's really focusing on the trail and the Western riding, especially the trail as we really just kind of started figuring it out and really getting it together, like, at the world show. So there's a lot of places I think we could continue to, like, work and grow, and those 2 classes have become really fun for me now that we've kind of figured each other out, and so I think for me is just building a similar connection in those 2 classes like we have in the horsemanship and, like, really growing in that direction and kinda setting new goals for those classes.
How long had you had that goal of winning the all around before it became a reality for you?
I would say the goal of the all around really was this year, to be honest. I think last year we were reserve all around at the Congress, which was a little bit of a surprise. So we looked at the standings and we realized I was going to be up there. And so I actually had to go enter the trail at the Congress last year to get enough categories. And so I knew we were going to start adding the other events. So it really didn't really become a goal until this year. So it became a reality like pretty quickly after it became a goal, which I feel really blessed about that. And the funny story is my mom, I went out to Texas, I think it was in June, I think, or July. And so my mom was kind of like, "Hey, I think you need to like reshift your priorities a little bit and like stop worrying about this all around thing at the world show and really just focus on your horsemanship and don't worry about the trail and western riding as much because like I don't really know this is an attainable goal." And so I was like, "Okay, well, we'll see about that." I'm a little headstrong sometimes.
Yeah,
And so
you showed her.
yeah, we were actually joking. My mom laughed about that and was like, "Remember when I told you should probably realign your goals?" So I feel really lucky that things and blessed that it worked out the way it did. But yeah, it really became kind of a goal this year and it worked out.
That's so incredible and so rare to set a goal and have it be achieved so quickly. I mean, that has to just feel incredible for you.
For sure. And I will say, like, the horsemanship, winning the world in horsemanship, I think I've been chasing that since I was like a youth kid when I was a youth. The first year I made the finals was when I was 13 in 2006. And so I knew then that I really wanted to win the horsemanship one year. And then my last year in youth, I was reserve, but didn't get the gold. And then just kind of a series of not having the right horse or not going to the world show or not being the right time. It really wasn't really possible until we got Sassy. And then like this year, achieving that was really the ultimate goal. So we had kind of a little bit of both. It took a long time to get one goal, but the other one was achieved quickly. So you never know.
Yeah, you got the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So
I mean, that has to feel so meaningful and, like, so fulfilling to be able to achieve both of those in the same year.
it does. And especially for me, like going through the whole journey with her and us like starting from the beginning and teaching her all the events makes it even more meaningful because I know where we started. I've been the only one who's really showed her in any of those classes. And so really seeing it from start to finish and kind of reaching the end goal is really special.
Yeah, that makes it just so much more meaningful. It probably makes you feel like you really earned it. You know, not that I mean, everybody who wins a title like that obviously has earned it, but it probably just makes it feel even so much more sweet.
Yes, for sure. I mean, as I said, it's anyone's day out there, and there's the amateur horsemanship and the amateur all around has a lot of fierce competitors, and it's super competitive. So everyone's always earning it and everyone's working hard for it. But being able to see it from start to finish definitely makes it, I guess, more special. And it also really is meaningful for my horse to be able to give her those achievements too, because she deserves them. So to make her a world champion and an all around amateur horse is really cool to have on her record.
So now that you've achieved so much, how do you not lose your fire and that strive to want to be the best and strive to want to win? Like, where do you get your passion from, and how are you going to keep it even though you've already achieved so much this year?
I think for me is I just love the sport. I love to compete. I really love the horsemanship. I know that no matter what, there's always someone else coming on stronger, coming on to be better. So I've achieved it to stay at the top. You've got to continue working at it and really always improving something because there's always something you can improve. So I think for me is even though I like achieved it, sending it again or deciding I want to try to win the world again or something is a goal or, as I said, focusing on other classes, just really improving my game somewhere else. Because, as I said, there's always someone who's coming after you and that's working hard and is getting better. So you kind of have to have the same mindset as well.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up to date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.